word problems. Now the good news is, these are linear programming problems. So when we get done with this, this should look like what I just gave you. You should have a function and several inequalities. For you all, the good news is I'm not going to actually have you solve these by graphing, because the fact that real-world numbers tend to not be very handy for graphing by hand. And even graphing it on your calculator and trying to solve this is pretty intense. So you're only setting these up. You're not going to work them out. That doesn't break you up too much. So if you read the first problem I just gave you on the handout, you have a nut company. They have 480 pounds of peanuts and 240 pounds of cashews on hand. Okay. So that's how much they have in stock to make their batches. They make of mixed nuts. So to make one batch of the basic mix, you get 12 pounds of peanuts and 4 pounds of cashews. So you get a lot of the cheapo peanuts and not so many of the expensive cashews. But let's face it, the cashews are better. But then they also make the deluxe batch. The deluxe mix, they get 8 pounds of peanuts and 8 pounds of cashews in it. So there you're getting a balanced amount. They know they make a profit of $50 per batch on basic and $35 on deluxe. Why would they make less on deluxe? You have to use more cashews, which are more expensive. And evidently they haven't chosen to raise their prices accordingly, or they don't think it'll sell if they raise their prices too much. But the big thing, the question. Do we all know that in a word problem, you want to read, pay careful attention to the actual question? Because if I say to you here, what are X and Y going to represent in this problem, you need to read the question. What do they want you to find? Yeah. How many batches of each mix should be made to maximize profit? So I am going to teach you a method. That was a lot of information they just threw at you in that problem. That's like overwhelming amount of information. The first thing you need to get across when you work word problems is you do not have to be able to read the problem and immediately produce an equation. That's actually bad, because you have a tendency to do it wrong. You should try to process the information. In this case, where there's so much information, I organize it, or I'll never keep it all straight. And so you're going to see me do this several times this year. I organize things in boxes. So if I was going to do this problem, I would be creating myself a little box here. And I would, when I do it, I label the side with my variables. So you said X was going to be what? The what? Not, X is not cashews. What was the question? How many batches of each mix should I produce? So X is the number of batches of which kind of mix? Basic. Oh, his electric one's back there on the, yeah, it's pretty shot. Y is the number of batches of deluxe mix. And then I just start filling in everything I know. I don't try to write equations, nothing like that. I just want to fill in what did they tell me. So what are all the things you know about numbers in this problem? Okay, where am I going to put that? Obviously, do I know something? What do I know about the batches? Because does the okay, yep. So to make a basic, we need 12 pounds of peanuts and 4 pounds of cashews. So I'm going to have to keep track of how many peanuts and how many cashews I'm using. And you just said 12 pounds of peanuts, 4 pounds of cashews. What else do I know? Do I know deluxe? Deluxe is it's 8 and 8. We make same for both. Right. Other information you know in there. $50 for a basic mix. And that's the what? That's profit. So, okay, we could have another column for profit. We make $50 for each batch of basic, and we make $35 on each batch of deluxe. Okay. Any other numbers you see there? You tried to tell me at the beginning and I kind of stalled you. What about the first sentence? You got 480 pounds of peanuts and 240 pounds of cashews on hand. Why is that important? Why do we care how many they got on hand? Can they make millions of batches? No, because they've only got 480 pounds of peanuts. When they run out of peanuts, they can't make any more, or they have to go buy more something. So, since they're telling me I have 480 pounds of peanuts, isn't that limiting how many peanuts I can use? That goes in the peanuts. I'm going to just throw that on the bottom here. 480 pounds of peanuts. I can't go over that. And therefore, I have the same situation with cashews. I have 240 pounds of cashews that I can't exceed. Now, you're ready to start writing your inequalities in your function. I personally always do my function first, because the function is always what is to be maximized or minimized. So if you read the words in this problem, what are we maximizing? Yep, last two words. How many batches of each mix should be made to maximize profit? So therefore your function has to be how much profit you're going to make. Okay, how much profit am I making? Yeah. $50 times my X batches of basic plus how much am I making on deluxe? 35 times Y times however many batches I make. So that's my function. Whatever you want to maximize or minimize, that's what you write the function about. Okay, everything else has to be inequalities, less than to greater than. Now, there are two inequalities that show up in 80 to 85% of your problems. I call them the common sense inequalities. They're not going to come from the reading. There's nothing in the reading that's telling you this, but can you make a negative number of batches of something? I can't make negative 6 batches of something. So, if I can't make my batches be negative, what's that tell me what kind of number X has to be? Positive. There we go. It has to be greater than, could equal 0. I could make no batches. It can't be negative. So yes, you'll actually almost always have inequalities of X is greater than 0 and Y is greater than 0. Because you have to make a positive amount of something. So those aren't, there's nothing in the reading's going to cue you on those. That's just kind of common sense. Okay, the rest of it's going to come from the information. What else is keeping us from just making unlimited batches? The peanuts can't go over 480 pounds. So I know something's got to be less than or equal to 480. Well, how many peanuts am I using to make basic and deluxe? I'm using 12 pounds of peanuts for every batch. So that would be 12 times X batches. Plus now, okay, when I make deluxe batches, I'm going to use 8 times Y. And it's less than or equal to 480. Okay, by organizing the information, where did that inequality just come out of this chart here? First column, boom, you went straight down. 12x plus 8y is less than or equal to 480. So then, yeah, go down the next column. 4x plus 8y has to be less than or equal to 240. And that's another advantage of organizing. Once you organize, it's like, oh, look, there's this relationship, or I can see a pattern here. Worth your time to stop and think about it. Okay, anybody think of any other inequalities that we've left off? Any other information we haven't used, or anything common sense oriented that we missed? No. So that should be it. Now, why am I not making you graph this and solve it by hand? Those are big numbers. You'd have to have like a monster sheet of graph paper. This is just, again, too complicated to graph these by hand. So we will live with setting them up. I have, however, if you are dying to know, and I still have a piece of paper, I worked this on my calculator one time. And even doing this on your calculator, you have to get all those graphs and then find all the intersections of all those different lines. It gets a little intense too. But in case you are wondering, we get the following coordinates if you work this one. 0, 30, 0, 0, 30, 15, and 40, 0. Those are the vertices that result when you actually work this one. What should I do with them? I should put them in the function. So you would actually put them in this function up here. 50 times 0 plus 35 times 30. That's going to come out to be 1,050. Okay, obviously what are you going to get when you put 0, 0 in? 0. If I put in 30, 50 times 30 plus 35 times 15, it seems like that should be bigger. And it is. It comes out 2025. And then last but not least, if I put 40 in there, 50 times 40 is a pretty good size number. That's 35 times 0. That's going to be a nice round 2,000. So which one is the answer? I wanted to maximize profit. Which one's the maximum? The third one, 2,000. So that means you're going to make $2,025. So your profit is $2,025 if you do how many whats? What does this mean? Why does it mean? What's important about the 30 and the 15 in making that one come out maximum? Yeah, I should make 30 batches of basic and 15 batches of deluxe. No, you do not actually have to work them out. Yeah. You just have to get this much set up. Get that much set up and quit. But I wanted you to see where, okay, that gives the company exact information. I'm going to maximize my profit if I follow that particular grouping. Can't really help. Routine? You're going to love it, trust me. Did I answer everything I told you about? Yes. All the journal questions have been answered.